We are here live, and we're going to be discussing what really is threatening this nation, the offshore banking takeover that is allied with the venomous, murderous, communist Chinese dictatorship that is basically taking this country over. An incredible report up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. It's also linked up on the DrudgeReport.com. Chinese pianist plays propaganda tune at the White House. This is from the Epoch Times, published in major cities all over the world. And I follow the communist Chinese closely, and this article is stunningly accurate. It's a 11-page article, and we're going to be going over some of it. At a White House dinner, the Chinese pianist, basically chosen by the Chinese government to play, and the Chinese media was reporting on this at least an hour before he played, because it was aired in China, that they were going to play what is known as the Motherland Song, the most popular song in the Communist Party since Korea. The song is about murdering American troops and killing the jackals dead. And then the pianist, who's a popular artist in China, in English, told Phoenix TV, that's the international television network, that this was played especially to let the Americans know that China is the boss. And I have all of the incredible quotes here. So when I told you in the last few weeks that Hu Jintao was trying to rub our noses in it, there's no doubt about this. But, oh, our government's not worried about China. Oh, Iran with their prehistoric military. Oh, they need to be demonized. They need to be dealt with. Oh, yes, sir. Meanwhile, China's been given our missile systems, our fighter systems. They didn't steal any of it because the banks running America for decades have bragged that the 21st century is the Chinese century, and they made a deal with them to be the muscle, both economic and military, to bring the United States down. China wouldn't be a threat if we didn't have traitors running our country that are in league with China. And I'm going to cover that today. We also have the report here. China bank moves to buy U.S. branches. Chinese stealth fighter jet may use U.S. technology. Give me a break. They claim they found it under a toadstool in Serbia. It was all given to them. We reported on it 12 years ago at the time. Incredible announcement from Google dealing with massive internet censorship. It is now here. You notice suddenly we hear all the announcements of let's have the fairness doctrine. Let's restrict bloggers. Let's shut down free speech. Let's do it all. They're moving right now because the global implosion by design is now happening. We'll also talk about the State of the Union coming up later in the week with Barack H. Obama and what he's going to be pushing there. Briefly, later in the next hour, I'm going to get into the V for Victory campaign we've launched. And a listener made this variant that we just posted up on Infowars.com. It's the top story there if you want to get it. It says new V for Victory posters, and you click on that, and it's got this new listener variant that you can copy and print off and post around your town or city. And then under it, it's got a link to our Facebook where there's got to be at least 30, 40 incredible new V for Victory posters that listeners have made and posted there. We have a link under it, but this one is incredible. It says it all. You know, I had this idea Thursday night, and Phil and I stayed up here about an hour late just to create a V and then a message at the bottom with Infowars.com saying, we are all in danger. A police state-control grid is being established in the United States. Now is the time for all lovers of liberty to stand together and to speak out against the growing tyranny destroying our republic. We will be victorious against the New World Order. Post this V for Victory flyer to warn others and show your peaceful resistance. Learn more at Infowars.com. Well, the listener added, we are Legion. We are not alone. You are not alone. United we stand. Victory. And I think it really makes it perfect. So they've really improved upon the design I came up with. Get that copy, that version, get it up everywhere. We're getting a lot of feedback. These things are going up nationwide and worldwide. We're live, my friends. It is Sunday, the 23rd day of January, 2011. We're going to be here live for the next 2 hours as we are every Sunday. I'm on the air 6 days a week. We come back, of course, Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And no, I'm not at home getting drunk watching the NFL playoffs between the four teams. I'm not busy at the gas station buying my case of beer. I am here warning and sounding the alarm for people about the nature of the tyrannical world government that is being established by the globalists. The private banking cartels, they make Bernie Madoff look like a saint. Elite banking cartels and families that have created Ponzi schemes after Ponzi schemes and are now destroying the world economy by design to bring in a world government that is militarily and economically backed up by the communist Chinese. How do I know that? Why, the Trilateral Commission told me so, treasonously. David Rockefeller's written books, including an autobiography he wrote 5 years ago, bragging about it. I have made many films covering their own white papers and admissions. I have read the Council on Foreign Relations going back at least 3 decades, saying the 21st century would be the Chinese century. We could deal with the rise of China if we didn't have global corporate criminals that had hijacked our nation who were working from within to destroy our economy and turn us into a third world police state. America is slated to be financially crippled and destroyed and is fading into history right now. It is all designed, and we're going to be discussing that today. Also, later, there is a huge push. Political correctness was first used in the 1930s in the Soviet Union. Political correctness is a Soviet re-education camp term. And they will start out with something that seems reasonable. Don't use the N-word, it hurts people's feelings. Then it will be, don't criticize your government, it can cause violence. Then it will be, don't say we're targeting this area for sales. The word target is now an N-word. And we have John King on CNN, obviously, earlier in the week, saying, oh, I apologize, our political analyst just said these are races being targeted. And he said, I apologize, we'll not use that anymore. They know that looks absurd. They're training you that there's thousands of words you can't use. And to illustrate that, Roger Ebert had his blog banned on Facebook for abusive content because he said he hated looking at himself in the mirror without his lower mandible removed because of cancer surgery. He now has a handsome prosthesis. So he's not allowed to say he doesn't like himself. That's banned for our own good. Just incredible. Absolutely incredible. This is the nanny state. Back before Christmas, I was on vacation at a tropical destination, and I was coming out of the hotel elevator with my daughter and my son, and my daughter had a little bit of sun kiss on her legs, a little bit of sun on there, which is healthy and good. We put a lot of sunscreen on them. And this control freak social worker type woman didn't address me, but rudely said, you poor little dear, you're all burned. Your daddy doesn't care. And I didn't say anything to her. She started freaking out and going, how did that happen? How did that happen? Oh, you're not putting sunscreen on. This is their little secret police control freak world. Oh, Roger Ebert said he didn't like to look at himself in the mirror, but now does. Hateful, ban his blog. That's bad against people that are handicapped. It hurt them. Oh, John King. You know, don't say the word target. Oh, my goodness. Here's another one. Area teachers object to removing N-word from Mark Twain's Huck Finn, which is against racism. Did a lot to open up racial dialogue. The word, the N-word is bad. But then Chris Matthews can call white people who don't want government health care crackers. See, multiculturalism is about invoking racial division, invoking infighting, making you, quote, see your differences, and then the government and the media, they play the part of the big referee in the sky. So I thought I'd go over the Sovietization of America and how it dovetails. I'm going to cover this next hour. How it dovetails with this incredible news from Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com from Eric Blair, who writes the Activist Post. We have a link to his blog on the bottom, and I've been aware of this for some time, but I went over it, and it's absolutely accurate. Google seeks to weaken search engine ranking of content farming websites. DrudgeReport.com, Gizmodo.com, Infowars.com. Most of your local radio station websites have some of their own content, but they'll also put links up and a little paragraph, a blurb, or a YouTube video so that the host can then tell their listeners where to go to see what they're talking about. That's how I started 14 years ago, Infowars.com. 11 years ago, PrisonPlanet.com. Because I wanted to be able to show listeners what I was talking about. If I say I've got a piece of legislation that says that the Food Safety Act was really written by big agribusiness, I have a link to mainstream news reporting on that, to shut down family farms and ranches. I'll have a link to the bill saying UN law Codex Alimentarius. So you can, I'll tell you the subsection. Why, it's right up at Infowars.com. Go there. There it is. Click it. Look at it. Oh, no. See, those are the most popular type of sites now. Because, and if you look at the mainstream Financial Times of London, Guardian, New York Times, more and more, they even post our videos. It's an embedded YouTube, but they'll talk about what I'm talking about. More and more, they are content farms or aggregators. Now, I have to say, Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, we've probably got more than 50 writers now that are part-time, 5 or 6 that are full-time. We have more than a lot of medium-sized little papers, and we do reach several million people a day now. But it doesn't matter. We already know Google is selectively censoring Infowars and Prison Planet, and we know this is going to be used against the Drudge Report. It's going to be used against Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, and we have their vice president who's over all of this, breaking it down. So I'm going to talk about that next hour and tie it in with the political correct censorship and the cocktail, the evil mixture, the stratagem, the overall deceptive operation that's going to be used to further crack down on free speech because the system is scared. In fact, that's how Eric Blair ends his article, saying, at its core, this new Google algorithm seems to punish information sharing in favor of protectionist conglomerates with large writing staffs. We in the alternative media would do well to recognize that these actions are being taken by the elite of the media world, are just another sign of their weakened state. Now is the time for the alternative media to seek more writers and more cooperation. And that is exactly what we do at Infowars.com. We bring the alternative media on. We give our information out to everyone freely to repost in full. Many give that to us. If you want to run your writing by us and see if we can post it, just got to be well documented and well sourced. Writers at Infowars.com. Because these are heavy issues we cover, and we have to be more documented than even mainstream media. So writers at Infowars.com if you'd like to join the team in that fight. But regardless, that's just a Google cover. Google delisted PrisonPlanet.com several months ago from its news aggregator. It's been up there for 9 years, and that hasn't stopped us from getting the word out. The system is getting scared, and we've seen Jay Rockefeller say we'd be better off if the internet was never invented. We have seen him also say he'd like to get rid of MSNBC and Fox, both the extremes, because if they can kill those two big elephants, if they can shut down those two big juggernauts and set the precedent there, they've got it all. That's part of the firing of Keith Olbermann that you just saw, though I don't like Keith Olbermann. He's another demagogic demigod, but it's a very dangerous trend overall. Also coming up now in the AP, Hawaii law bars release of Obama birth certificate. It was only a month ago that their new governor, Mr. Abercrombie, said that, as soon as I get in, I'm going to go get it and I'm going to release it. And then he told the Honolulu Advertiser on Tuesday that he couldn't find it. And then now the spin has begun. Now they're saying the law bars them releasing it. But not before he shot his mouth off and said, yeah, it's not there. This is going to be a campaign issue. Oops. That's big news, isn't it? That's coming up as well. But the big news on China, this is powerful info. Wait till you hear this. We're back live. I want to get into communist China. Over 1,100,000,000 people and growing. In fact, I forget the Chinese population. Jaron, will you pull that up for me? Thank you. We can give folks that exact factoid. Of 6.5 billion people in this world, 1 in every 6 is Chinese. And the Chinese people are very diverse political ideas. But if you even try to be a peaceful, non-violent, quasi, not even really religious Buddhists like the Falun Gong. This is on record, been all over the news for many years, as you know. They take you and imprison you and then keep you healthy. They love Falun Gong because they eat healthy, don't use drugs, and exercise. And then they blood type you and then sell your organs, and they have mobile execution vans. The Chinese population is 1,331,460,000. Yeah, I knew when I said 1,100,000,000 that they'd recently done a census and it had gone up. In fact, I was thinking 1.3, but it's 1.33 billion. So over 1,300,000,000. And I talked about mobile execution vans. Let's show prisonplanet.tv viewers who are watching the TV radio simulcast. Let's search Chinese mobile execution vans. You'll get Times of London, Associated Press. Let's show the young woman being choked for committing a supposedly small crime and being taken to the mobile execution van to have her organs chopped out and then flown to Japan, where wealthy Westerners land to get their organs. The point is, when you don't have a Bill of Rights and Constitution, when you don't have freedom, the armies of corrupt, ruthless, powerful, armed institutions will come and will take your property, will take your life. There's USA Today. China makes ultimate punishment mobile. And that's from 2005. The mobile execution van. You can scroll down and see the mobile execution van there. The point is, I don't want to sit here and talk about China and then have people deny anything I'm saying. Now, every major city has upwards of 14 of these vans. They are gutting people 24/7, and the Communist Chinese inner party is made up of just, in the upper party, a few hundred families. They own the whole country. They live in giant palaces. They do whatever they want, and the global elite love them. George Herbert Walker Bush was flown in the mid-1970s to have them sign on the State Department Memorandum 200, or a secret treaty declassified in 92. And it stated, if you reduce your population, if you have forced abortion, if you have forced infanticide of already born babies, if you accept world government, if you let select Western businesses come in only and do business to shut down our competition in Europe and the U.S. and Canada, Australia, if you do that, and we will let you be at the highest levels of world government. And David Rockefeller has written articles about it in the New York Times, praising Mao. That's in my film Endgame. We actually went to UT and got the microfilm of the articles in the New York Times praising Mao, who killed between 60 and 80+ million. There's debates about it. I mean, this is like saying Hitler's a great guy or Stalin's a great guy. And they made a deal, select Western corporations and banks, to have inside sweetheart deals with China, to only work with them to create mass retailers that nobody could compete with, that nobody could undercut. You know the name of that company. They got 40+% of world retail sales, almost all of it made in China. But they've got big American flags hanging up saying, buy American. It's a sick joke. You've got the symbol of America, but then there's nothing there made in America. Maybe the marshmallows. If you buy some marshmallows or a head of lettuce, maybe it's not made in Mexico. And the Chinese jokingly ship in melamine-filled milk for children formula, and our media comes out, FDA headline, melamine not bad for children. Doesn't matter if it's killing them. Our government just says it's good. I have an MSNBC clip where our media says, oh, lead in toys is good. You can just search the term, MSNBC host, lead in toys is good. Oh, I've got another newscast. Oh, mercury's not bad. You know, we've got to do whatever China wants. Our economy will fall apart if we don't accept their goods. So China has revolts going all over the country. They're taking little poor farmers tiny pieces of ancestral land. Their population hates what's going on. They work with Google and Yahoo and Microsoft to test out internet censorship, which they're now exporting here. I'm going to cover that next hour. Very same systems. In fact, even last year, Australia had the headline, government installing Chinese-style net censorship. The people rebelled. They didn't get it in. But they said, this is the model. This is the Chinese or Singaporean authoritarian model. It's praised. Authoritarianism is now praised all over our own media. They've gone from not criticizing China in the last decade to now praising authoritarianism as if it's getting things done, the inside jobs, the corruption, this tiny communist elite living in giant palaces while people are starving to death. China with no environmental standards, no regulations, while our own government piles more on us, run by the very corporations that own the factories in China. That's how they make sure we can't have business. They put incredible expenses on small U.S. telecommunications, but then signed a deal last week with a Pakistan company to have no regulations on it because the inside ruling political class made a deal to get some money. Just like Obama has given over 500 waivers, this is key, to McDonald's and others, 500 companies plus and growing. Every week it's like 100 and something. I haven't looked at it in the last month. Oh, you don't have to buy insurance for your employees, but the hamburger place next to you does. Oh, you didn't give money to the Democratic Party? You don't get to keep your GM dealership now that we've taken it over. I mean, this is happening in the open. This is mafia protection money. And China is that 1,300,000,000 slaves. China signed on to the UN operation. China admittedly will take a newborn baby if a mother has it secretly at home and kill it in front of her. Or they will take it, I've seen reports of this, and keep it for live medical experiments. Now, the elite of the West looks at that and says, hey, we like you. You are psychopathic sadist killers. We want to join forces with you to deindustrialize the U.S. while our idiot population's busy getting drunk and watching the NFL football playoffs. We're going to get behind you fully. You want the missile systems, you want the weapon systems, you want the stealth technology, you've got it. You've got it. And again, CFR, Trilateral Commission, just search the term the Chinese century. You'll see them bragging, laughing. The elite that runs this country has always hated you. They hate your ownership of land. Very few places in the world you can really own land. They hate your ownership of guns. You are hated. We are hated. I am hated. And the globalists have merged, have teamed up with China. And now, here's the big news. This is Epoch Times, also up at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Chinese pianist plays propaganda tune at White House. U.S. humiliated in the eyes of China by song used to inspire anti-Americanism. This is the song played as the battle hymn during the Korean War. When tens of thousands of U.S. troops died, it is the most popular by the Communist Chinese government. We're going to go over all the quotes. It talks about killing American jackals, our troops. Obama sat there while this was played with pleasure. All right, we're back live here. Now think about what it signifies politically. And we've gone in just the last decade from the media at least criticizing China's police state to it being fully embraced. And China being the biggest owner of our debt. But when you look at the debt, it's not really our debt. And the private central banks have organized all this and teamed up with them. Now, this is from the Epoch Times. It's a syndicated newspaper. It's published in Dallas, Toronto, Los Angeles, New York. It's published, I know, in more than 50 major cities. But I didn't just go off this. I went and did some searching several hours today. I was so shocked by this. And checked the Chinese dailies. Now, China has no media that's not government-controlled and run. They allowed for 2 years a private magazine to run. It was very milquetoast, pro-government. But the Communist Chinese, like all media under their control, because of the power and prestige of those few families, it is hereditary, just like North Korea with a hereditary dictatorship of Kim Jong-il and now his son. And so they shut it down just a month or so ago. And I went and looked this up, and it does air in China. It's called Phoenix Television, and it was from the White House. Lang Lang is a very popular Chinese pianist and singer, and he gave interviews here, and you can click through and watch him give the interviews in English. And this is the #1 anti-American song in China. Our troops are called jackals, dirty jackals. Kill them, shoot them, murder the Americans. They are trash. Get them. I mean, how beautiful China is, how bad America is. And it turns out that at least an hour and a half, some reports are 2 hours before this even aired, it was on Chinese state-run news. Everybody tune in. We're going to show the Americans. And they played it with Obama there. Now, what did Hu Jintao say 2 weeks ago? He said, we're dumping your dollar. Your dollar's worthless. America's over. Yeah, they got a citizens organization for balancing the budget. In fact, cue up that TV ad that got banned on History Channel and ABC News for me, Jaron, the one we aired earlier in the week, please. A citizens activist group put together a national TV ad that shows a Chinese professor fictitiously, fiction, 20 years from now, in 2030, talking about how America fell because the Chinese bought us up through fraud. That's actually what's taught. They did their research for this ad that U.S. media would not air. And that's how the censorship begins. This is what's really going on. And now, worldwide, they're starting to trade in the Chinese currency to replace the dollar. Hu Jintao has said they want to replace the dollar. Russia has said that. And so has George Soros. So has David Rockefeller. So has Ted Turner. They all hate this country because of the guns and the property and the liberty. And they've tried to weaken you with the sports and the diversions and the drugs and the sex and the porn. And they think they've got you very close. And they're testing right now this humiliation. So this was played at the White House. And I'm going to read the article right now. It's 11 pages long. I can't read it all. But Lang Lang, the pianist, says he chose it. They have links to the video of him saying it. Chairman Hu Jintao recognized it as soon as he heard it. Patriotic Chinese internet users were delighted as soon as they saw the videos online. Early morning TV viewers in China knew it would be playing an hour or two beforehand. It was announced on TV. As the White House State Dinner, January 19th, about 6 minutes into his set, Lang Lang began tapping out the famous anti-American propaganda melody, My Motherland, which was also made famous in China by the movie The Battle of Shangyanglang Mountain, or Triangle Mountain. The film depicts a group of People's Volunteer Army soldiers who were first hemmed in on the Triangle Hill, and then, by reinforcements arrived, take up their rifles and counterattack the U.S. military jackals. That's what it's called. And I know I'm going to be called unpatriotic for not worshiping the death of our troops. I understand. See, when you actually don't want the troops breathing DU or being experimented on with vaccines, that's unpatriotic. When you just put an American flag out and salute the Chinese and do whatever the government tells you, that's patriotism nowadays. You don't want to really hear about what's really going on. I understand. I'm bad. The movie and the tune are widely known among Chinese, and the song has been a leading piece of anti-American propaganda by the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, for decades. CCP propaganda has always referred to the Korean War as the movement to resist America and help North Korea. The message of the propaganda is that the United States is an enemy and fighting in the North Korean war for the United States. The real goal was said to be to invade and conquer China. The victory at Triangle Hill was promoted as a victory over imperialist. Now, that's one page. It goes on for 11. And they give all these lists of how Hu Jintao, and they brag in their papers, I mean, big papers to a billion-plus people, that, look, Hu Jintao did not bow. Obama did. He did it last year and again this week. Look, our great leader only barely put his hand out. Obama had to reach out and take it. See, it's like, when Obama's bowing, he just goes, like kiss the ring, and Obama bows and takes it. And it's all about training us to take anything. TSA sticking their hands down our pants. All of this humiliation, telling us the world financial crisis is our fault when it's the offshore banks that engineered it and bragged. It's all about breaking your will. Austin, Texas started out 2 years ago with the warrantless blood checkpoints. Now they're nationwide. Austin now, the Washington Post reports, started because we're Fed run, with drones watching citizens. That's coming up later. I'm in Austin for those listening all over the world. It's all about breaking our will, acclimating. Because once you don't have any morals, once you don't have any views yourself, once you're an empty consumer, you'll consume whenever they put out, even if it's cyanide. The one thing Americans know how to do now is laugh in the face of truth. If you tell someone something profound and powerful, they laugh. because that's the instinct of a fool. They've been trained. That's the one thing that gives them value, is that they are such losers, such failures, and never stand up for themselves and buy into every scam. That is the religion of the New World Order, is being fools. The name of the song is My Motherland, originally titled Big River. In an interview broadcast on Phoenix TV in China, the first thing Lang Lang is quoted as saying is that he chose the piece. He said, "I thought to play My Motherland because I think playing the tune at the White House banquet can help us as a Chinese people feel extremely proud of ourselves and express our feelings through the song." Yeah, the Chinese people revolting against the tyranny, fighting back with sticks and stones against guns and winning over and over again. There's a huge revolt going on in China. They want to get them all fervored, filled through fake nationalism to hate Americans and to feel a false pride so they won't commit suicide in the factories working 18 hours a day building our iPads that then deindustrialize us. He said he felt extremely proud of ourselves and expressed our feelings through the song. I think it's especially good, and I like the tune, and of itself, every time I hear it, extremely moved. He expressed the idea more frankly later on his blog. Playing the song, praising China, to heads of state from around the world would seem to tell them that our China is formidable, that our Chinese people are unified. I felt deeply honored and proud. They played a song saying, we kill the American dogs, we kill the jackals, we kill the Marines, we kill the Army. Go read the text of the song. We will get them. We will cut them all down. We will shoot the dogs. Imagine Obama in Beijing or Peking or anywhere else playing a song about a war that just happened 55, 60 years ago about killing Chinese dogs. Imagine a modern U.S. president playing the old 50s song. I forget who the author was. In 1814, we took a little trip along with Colonel Jackson around the mighty Mississippi. We took a little bacon and we took a little beans and we whooped the bloody British in the town of New Orleans. We fired our guns and the British kept a-coming. There weren't quite as many as there was a time before. We fired our guns and they began to running on down the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico. Old Hickory said we could take them by surprise. That was 200 plus years ago and wasn't calling them dogs if a president played that as a guest of the British. But only Americans will take it. It's politically correct. Oh, our military are dogs you kill? Thank you. You own our debt? You're saying down with America? Down with the dollar? Thank you. Thank you. Americans have been neutralized through political correctness. Imagine Hu Jintao elected by the Communist Party dictatorship. There's not voting in China. A man who continues mass exterminations, weekly sports stadium, and executions of political dissidents. And what does it tell you about our government and Western governments that there's now zero criticism of them and their tyranny? What does that tell you? And that at the state dinner, now 4 days ago, on the evening of the 19th, when he's there at that big state dinner, they have this top Chinese artist, singer, and pianist play the big anti-America, kill the American military, kill the jackals. What does that tell you? And it goes through with links to how it was known in advance, how the Chinese media was bragging about it before it happened. It's got all of these bizarre newspaper quotes from the Chinese population showing their understanding. One blog said, the right place at the right time, the right song echoed Chinese propaganda and its declaration for victory over the U.S. Chinese have been taught that the United States lost the Korean War. A U.S. general is quoted in the propaganda as describing the Korean War as being the wrong war at the wrong time in the wrong place with the wrong enemy, which is taken as an admission of defeat. In fact, the quote is from General Omar N. Bradley, testifying to Congress to why the United States should not extend the war, the Korean War, into China. Yeah, it's just the U.S. that saved China from the Japanese. And what do we get immediately from the communist? Anytime they could capture our people, slave labor. That's what you get from the communist. And, of course, it's now been declassified that the CIA in 49 decided not to back Chiang Kai-shek and put Mao into power. Unbelievable. So China works for the New World Order, folks, and it just goes on and on with the humiliating the U.S., all the links to Chinese news where they will show how Hu Jintao will not bow and will not smile when Obama or Biden shakes their hand. They will bow, and he barely sticks his hand out. It's a sign of disrespect in Asia, especially China. And they say that. Look at the dog. Look at him bow. But see, why is Obama bowing when presidents never did that? It's all part of training us to see our president bow, to accept more and more in the future. You know, my dad worked for the railroad before going to college, and he learned then from the railroad engineers that they never upgrade our rail lines and our rail beds. That's why when my grandmother would go to college to get her master's degree from East Texas to Houston every day, she could get down there in an hour and back in an hour to get her master's degree because it was a speed train, went over 100 miles an hour in the late 1940s. That same rail line, the trains can't go over 40 miles an hour now. But China's coming in now to build the East Coast rail line that's going to be a 200-plus mile an hour train. See, we buy toasters and iPads. Got to love the liberal Apple, always lecturing us and moralizing about paying carbon taxes and hating families and not having kids. But then they're over in China where they have to put nets around their the Apple factories because so many people are committing suicide. That's on record. Apple has to put nets around because they're working 18 hours a day, chained down. But see, the left doesn't want to hear about that. Just like mainline conservatives, they don't want to hear about China openly at the White House playing songs about how we're dogs and our military are jackals. And how, I've got the quotes here, you see the jackal, you shoot it, you kill it. Jackals must be killed. It's on Infowars.com. Go read it. One of the top stories. And what's in my news today? China bank moves to buy U.S. branches. No, of course. Chinese stealth fighter jet may use U.S. technology. They claim they picked up parts of shot down U.S. aircraft in Serbia. Give me a break. Clinton and everybody else is on record giving them everything. And whatever we give to Israel, it's come out in the news, is given to China. Oh, but don't criticize Israel. Just do whatever we're told. Just sit down and take it. And I pay for it as a taxpayer. Meanwhile, my military, and I've been to the urban warfare drills, and you've seen them in New Orleans, go into high and dry areas and take the guns, on the news, into homes that have their own power, their own generators, going in and taking them. Our military, our police, are being given almost unlimited Pentagon funding. They're setting up threat fusion, spy centers everywhere to dominate and spy on the American people. And who do they spy on? Gun owners, conservatives, libertarians, those that want us out of the Federal Reserve, those that want to get rid of NAFTA and GATT. Ron Paul, it came out 2 months ago via ACLU FOIA requests, lawsuits. Ron Paul meetings have government spies, FBI, you name it, infiltrating him because he's a real American. We were sent by the military 2 years ago that the Army goes to our In the Fed rallies. The Army. And it said, don't let them know you're with the Army. They may kill you. They teach the U.S. Army that I may kill them. Really, I care about our military. I care about our republic. I'm a real American. I'm not singing songs at the White House calling you jackals and talking about lining you up and blowing your heads off. But see, it's because I am a real American that I am the bad man. I'm not part of this offshore political class selling everybody out. And it goes on and on and on from there. But coming up in the next hour, look at this Reuters article. Utah City may use blimp as anti-crime spy in the sky. I remember 11 years ago and then again 8 years ago seeing government documents that were public. They weren't even classified. That they'd already tethered on the border blimps, but not blimps watching for foreigners coming in, for watching for Americans leaving. And that they have it over 100,000 feet in the air over every major U.S. city, giant DARPA blimps with face scanning cameras, license plate reading cameras, watching everything we do. And now here's Reuters. Utah City may use blimp as anti-crime spy in the sky. Here's another one. 23-story rocket launches U.S. spy satellite. And now it's come out that these spy satellites aren't being used against the Chinese. They're being used against us. Biggest rocket ever launched in West Coast history, 23 stories tall. Our tax money pays for it. And it's for spying on us. Came out in Der Spiegel that these 3 satellites they launched and claimed were for global warming issues are for spying on us. And it's an infrared biometric scan of the top of your head and your shoulders. They can tell who you are from space. Of course, they got to have ground cameras that face scan your face, that triangulate with the satellite while it's over you. And then it connects that ID number with the infrared shot of the top of your body. But they just shut down the virtual fence. We told you 4 years ago they were never going to build it, and they've shut down the physical fence. The border's open, but they've got billion-dollar giant satellites watching us. Because we're the milk cows. We're the slaves. We're the food. We're the idiot food. Dumb gerbils that have had our eyes poked out, our legs chopped off, and the government's a big python snake teamed up with a bigger python snake from China that's killed more people than any government in history. Who comes here at the White House and says, your dollar is dead, ha, 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 and here's a song about killing your troops. Hours before, Chinese news saying, everyone tune in, watch this, as a humiliation of America. And the Republicans won't stop it. Ken Starr hooked in with the Chinese. He wouldn't go after Clinton for any of the Chinese sellouts of missile secrets. Ron Brown threatened to speak out, so he got shot in the head, Commerce Secretary. No. No, they're too busy teaching the FBI and the police that we're the enemy, that those of us that care about the country are enemies. Here's another one. Who needs search warrants? Just follow your nose. Lou Rockwell reports on this. He gives a whole bunch of examples of police all over the nation announcing, we no longer have warrants to come in your house. We no longer have warrants to search your bags on the streets. We no longer. Cops, you're Americans too. Okay, you're having your liberty, your future destroyed as well. That's all coming up. We're going to get into the attack on free speech. Google's big announcement that they're going to start shutting down total access and searchability to alternative news sites like DrudgeReport.com, Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com. We got Ron Paul beats Sarah Palin in a key straw poll. I had Ron Paul on Friday. You watch, folks. He's going to run for president. Got to get behind him. That's all coming up. And we're going to take some phone calls next hour. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We've got to resist this takeover. Just incredible, absolutely incredible. And I want to get into the attacks on free speech. The toll-free number to join us is 877-789-ALEX. 877-789-ALEX. Also, we've launched this V for Victory campaign. A subcomponent of the answer to 1984 is 1776. And I see the classic COINTELPRO or useful camp follower tactics of saying, 1776 is when Adam Weishaupt started the Illuminati. Why does your contest... No, that's when we have the start of the Revolutionary War. That's why I say the answer to 1984 is 1776. And I've said that hundreds of times. That's why I coined that term. So we're not going to let that be a distraction. They say Winston Churchill used the V. It's satanic. It's V for the French resistance against occupation. It's a powerful, simple symbol. I mean, Hitler used an eagle. Can we use an American eagle? Give me a break. If I used a tree as our symbol, you'd say, the Norse believed the tree was the symbol of the universe. It's Norse occultism. Any symbol there is has been used by anybody and everybody. Now, if I was using upside-down stars or Baphomet, then there'd be an issue. But holy mackerel, folks, I mean, this is about people seeing a flyer. And we've got this new one. A listener made this variant, and it's my favorite. It's up on Infowars.com. A listener made this variant, new V for Victory posters. And they took our basic design that I churned out with Phil last Thursday, and they added, we are Legion, you are not alone, united we stand, V for Victory, Infowars.com. That's got a short message at the bottom. And later this week, I'm going to put out another variant that deals with how China is teamed up with the offshore banks. And we're going to write an article about that, and it's going to have a URL there to explain that we're being occupied by foreign banks with China as their muscle. This is about getting small towns, cities, counties talking. I'm getting a lot of chatter and emails and comments about these going up at malls, message boards, telephone poles, everywhere that's legal and lawful, banner hangs, a bunch of videos coming in. Very, very exciting. We just launched this Friday morning right before Ron Paul was on with us. So also in this latest post, new V for Victory posters, under it there's a link to a sub-page of one of my Facebook pages. And when you click on that, it takes you to where literally, I said 30 or 40, it's more like 100. I was trying to count during a break. Different V for Victory designs have been posted. Just amazing artists and folks out there standing up for liberty. So pick whatever version you want. Other folks have made an R for resistance. Next they'll say R is satanic, but I think the R for resistance is a great poster that's in there as well. So you do whatever you want to get the word out about the New World Order. But now is the time, just like the French hanging up posters in the dead of night, to say we don't have solidarity with this corrupt takeover. We don't agree with what's happening. And it's just another, look at the Obama poster deal. It was on hundreds of TV stations, hundreds of news articles written about it, hundreds. From Japan to the U.S., from Mexico to the Netherlands, from England to South Africa, they posted our Obama Joker. And it took this godlike figure they were trying to sell us through tyranny and showed his real face. And it's all that simple. The Sons of Liberty, for about 15 years before the Revolutionary War, posted flyers decrying the king and showing that he was just a piece of garbage. Same thing. We're getting involved. It's resistance is victory. You lift weights, it's resistance. You get stronger. Resistance is victory. That's why we're doing this with the answer to 1984-1776 contest. And it's all a cooperative effort for liberty, and the globalists can't stop that. The TSA is launching their own contest, trying to get you involved, helping them. The people are standing up. It is Sunday, the 23rd day of January, 2011. Got an hour left here in transmission. Gareth in Norway, Eric in Oregon, and many others calling us toll-free at 877-789-ALEX, 877-789-ALEX. Will get you up and on the air coming up in the next segment. Now, before I get into the multi-pronged attack on free speech, I'm going to cover political correctness and what it really means and how it operates from their own words first. Then I'm going to get into how they want to start digitally shutting down the internet towards the end of this hour. But here is the headline written by Eric Blair for Infowars.com. Google seeks to weaken search engine ranking of content farming websites. And when you hear that, people are like, what does that mean? That's any talk radio station that posts YouTubes and does the person that's made the YouTube a favor. That's any online site that takes blurbs of what people have written for discussion. And they're saying they're going to start censoring it towards mainstream dominant media where it's basically all content of that media, whether it's the New York Times or CNN. And I've told you about the perfect storm of the dinosaur mainstream media being in so much trouble and and losing viewers. And quite frankly, when we link to a CNN article and put a paragraph up there, those aren't the popular articles for folks to talk about and comment on. It's the articles we write. It's the videos we produce. It's the alternative media articles we post. So quite frankly, this is all a smokescreen. This is not even about blocking out the Drudge Report or Infowars.com. It's about blocking out alternative media across the board. And it's not about, quote, stopping content farms, you know, people that are aggregating news and links to it. That's a favor to the mainstream media. It's about not letting you even search alternative media, and Google admits this, and it ties in to the Internet 2 model of censorship that's openly being called for by Cass Sunstein, the White House regulation czar, by the Communist Chinese and others. And remember, Google has worked closely with the Communist Chinese on censorship. So has Microsoft. So has Yahoo. So has Sun Microsystems. So has Oracle. And they've used that as a beta testing ground. You notice you're hearing the calls to end net neutrality. You're hearing the calls for FCC regulation of the web. You're hearing the open calls all over the news for restrictions on free speech, for the fairness doctrine. And this is all coming together right now because the system is moving forward with its birth of world government run by the private offshore banks, teamed up with Communist China as their political and economic and military muscle. And they know you're awake. They know Congress has a 9 to 11% approval rating. They know you're getting educated. They're scared. And that's why they're coming after talk radio and the Internet and alternative media. So even if, and I've read the press release of Google, even if Infowars.com or Drudge stopped linking to the New York Times and CNN altogether, they don't care. This algorithm says that if it goes to your site, and it's basically not all your own news, you're delisted and people can't find it. Their old algorithm was about whoever got the most hits. So you type in Alex Jones, the top link isn't the thousands of different Alex Joneses, including TV stars in England, bankers, you name it. It's Alex Jones, yours truly, the talk show host. If you type in Drudge, you get Drudge Report. Under this system, that will not happen, and they think it's going to hide true alternative media. The answer to this 1984 takeover is 1776. Spread Infowars.com to everybody you know. PrisonPlanet.com to everybody you know. This radio show, you're listening to local AM and FM, stop cars at red lights. Say, hey, tune into this local station. They can't stop you, the grassroots, but they're scared right now. And this is their cocktail of censorship I'm going to get to after I take a couple segments of calls. Now, let me get to this first. This is another form of censorship and control. First, the media comes in and says, don't use the N-word. People say, well, that sounds reasonable. Go ahead and arrest people that use it. Then they say, don't say you hate a politician. That could make someone do something violent. They'll arrest you in Europe for saying, I hate the politician, because that might encourage someone. It takes your free speech away. Here in the U.S., your First Amendment. And then the media itself censors itself to try to create a groupthink peer pressure system. And after Congresswoman Giffords got shot, turned out the guy was a total drug head, if anything politically, you know, a mainline liberal. That's what all his friends and family said. But they blamed it on talk radio. They blamed it on the Internet. They blamed it on Ron Paul, on Alex Jones, CNN, MSNBC, Democracy Now! It's my fault. Now Obama in his State of the Union says civility. Don't get angry. Sit down. Shut up. We want to work with the Republicans. And the Republican leadership says, oh, yes, we're going to continue NAFTA and GATT, open borders. Remember, it was the Republicans under Bush that tried amnesty. The Republican leadership has now said, we want to work with Obama. They did the one thing, the repeal of health care in the House, but they knew it was symbolic because the Senate doesn't have the votes. They're bought and paid for by the same interest. And they know exactly what they're doing. And so now they're saying, don't say target in your sales meeting. We want to target this region for sales, or we want to target 18 to 35. Oh, the word target is now dirty. See, they want to control the words. They want to get you so scared. Don't talk about politics and religion. Don't give out your views. Go in your house, watch your glowing television set. Shut up. And here is John King on CNN. They have their political correspondent. You can tell it's staged. Say, yes, they're targeting these districts in Illinois. Then they come back from break and John King says, I'm so sorry. We're following standards that you demand, like the viewers running CNN. You demand we don't say target, as if it came from the grassroots. Oh, hold us accountable when we don't meet your standards. Well, don't worry. See, on Internet 2, they make you get a domain under government or a select mega website like Facebook, MySpace, YouTube. Then when you violate their standards, and they allow gangs of people to file false complaints, no proof, no judge, no jury, then you're removed. That's internet too. There will be no Infowars.com. There will be no Drudge Report. There will be no WorldNetDaily.com. They openly brag at these Internet 2 meetings. Go read the minutes of them with the UN there and the Fortune 50 Internet, that they will then have you sign a waiver, because then you're on their website, but those are the only sites that are going to be accessible on Internet 2. And then when they don't like what you've done, you're deleted. Look at this article here out of MSNBC. Facebook calls Roger Ebert's blog abusive content. And then it goes on here. It says he was banned and his site terminated on Facebook, despite the fact that he's one of the most popular people on there, because he talked about his prosthetic jaw removed because of thyroid cancer and how he hated looking at himself in the mirror before he got the prosthesis. No kidding. Pretty horrifying. You know, my dad worked at MD Anderson, described folks that had from smoking and chewing tobacco, their jaws removed, and how it's just a mandible on top. He wasn't allowed to say that because it hurt handicapped people to say that he didn't like looking at himself in the mirror. I mean, this is a guy who had his chin removed. He's got a new one put in. He's out there openly doing interviews. He's saying, man, it was horrifying. I didn't want to look at myself. Boom! Roger Ebert, you're gone. The end of free speech. Continuing. Huck Finn, don't have the N-word. The book's about racism and discrimination. Don't show what people are saying. Boom, erase that out of the books. You understand how dangerous this is? They know exactly what they're doing. They've got to shut your free speech down. John King, hold us to a standard. Get us in trouble if we say target. They're getting ready to try to restrict free speech. In the past, when we would have a shooting, they would mainly demonize the Second Amendment. But now they're not just demonizing that. They're spending, I'd say, double their time attacking free speech. And that's what this is all about, that words are bad. And CNN, oh, excuse me, we said targeted in political races. You know, oh my gosh, the Republicans are targeting black voters. That means killing them. They know it's asinine. They're training you to think of words as violent and bad so they can start shutting it down. These are authoritarians. They're attacking everything that we have in a free society. They're telling us China, the dictatorship, is good. Now, we've got loaded phone lines here. We've got about 20 phone calls to take. Gareth in Norway. We've got Rod in Kentucky. We've got so many. So please, I want to hear from all of you. Give us your question, your comment. We're going to move on. Gareth in Norway, good to have you tuning in. What's on your mind this evening?
How are you, man?
Good. Welcome.
Thanks. No, just ringing about China. Keep to the point. There's lots happening up here. I'm ringing from the home of the Peace Prize table, you could say, I guess. I'm ringing from Oslo. Just on what you're saying about China. Just had one of the biggest international aluminium companies in Norway bought up by, or just sold to the Chinese straight out from under the people, like on the excuse that, like, yeah, we can't compete anymore. Like, it's just... Yeah,
because select global corporations control your government and ours, put giant regulations on us, then they go set up subsidiaries in China so we can't compete, then they come in and buy us up. This is economic takeover. This is economic warfare. And China says that on their news and talks about us as if we're scum and it's all a big sick joke. But again, it's the traitors in our countries that have allowed this to happen. This is an inside deal. China's only one part of the equation. The globalists are using their 300 million slaves to leverage out all competition.
No, well, this company, Elkem, was sold up by a big globalist company called Orkla, and like their main market was England. And they've built their own like hydro dams for these factories. This is an old company, man. We're talking 100 years old nearly, you know. And these dams aren't theirs anymore, so they don't control the electricity to drive the aluminium melt. And, you know, and it's just a big joke, man. Like,
it is. Gareth, good to hear you from Norway. I absolutely agree with you. And again, just like the private central banks pay off government to give them a license to issue currency and credit, so they literally own the money machines and have an unfair trade advantage to take over society, the Chinese are the part of the equation of 1,300,000,000 slaves with no insurance, no health care, no Social Security, no environmental rules. They're then used to leverage out all competition worldwide and create a monopoly. And that's the game plan, and it's going to devastate us. It has devastated us. Rod in Kentucky, you're on the air.
Hey, Alex, it's good to talk to you again, man. Listen, I'm a Prison Planet subscriber for about 2 years now. My username's Cheap Sal. That way you know I'm not pulling your leg. Hey, now I got two things, and I'll get off here because I know everybody's wanting to get in. Number one, I have a lot of Chinese friends where I live. I study traditional Chinese Kung Fu, and these guys were kicked out, basically. Well, I say kicked out. They were run out of China during the, the revolution with all them. The martial artists and their masters fled to Taiwan, Australia. A lot of them ended up coming to America because they were killing them left and right because they were...
We stand with solidarity with the Chinese people. It's the murderous communists that run it that our government's embracing, and our media is acting like the Chinese agree with all this. They don't. That's what's so sick. And our government, who halfway supported Tiananmen Square, 20 years ago, you never hear about that now, do you?
No, but the American Chinese, I will say, especially my friends right now, they hate China, and there's so much corruption. You've only touched the tip of the iceberg with the corruption, and they're poisoning their own people. It's absolutely out of control.
And guess who makes most of our over-the-counter and prescription drugs? China is the biggest maker now, and our government just lets them dump poison on us. It is a sick joke, isn't it? Oh, I see all the time. 3,000 Chinese children die of melamine and formula. Then they ship it over here, and our government says, in fact, pull up the headline, FDA says melamine safe. Our government says, hey, go ahead and drink it.
My Chinese friends will not use anything from China, and that is not a joke, and it's not a lie. They personally told me I will not use anything from China because they don't trust them.
God bless you. Got to jump, Rod. Great points. That's another issue. The media sometimes will say, since Clinton's era, they still do it. Oh, it's racist that you're criticizing China. Racist? Their government killed over 60 million of their own people. It has nothing to do with that. But the political correct people, oh, you don't like government health care? You don't like black people. They just throw that in there to control you. Absolutely. The Chinese, here's an example. Paul Watson writes for PrisonPlanet.com. His wife, they just got married, they've been together about 4 years. She's British. You can't tell over the phone, she's perfect British accent, so she is really British. But, she's Chinese, by genetics, a great lady. They went to China for a trip to see some family, and she wrote an article when she came back with Paul about the Rand Corporation reporting on China, and they got calls to their family in China and England and said, you better never write again or we're going to get you. You're under secret police investigation in England. The Chinese spies are everywhere. They're listening right now. These people are bloodthirsty, folks. You've got to understand that, and I'm not putting up with it. Great points. Let's go ahead and talk to Eric in Oregon. Eric, you're on the air.
Hey, Alex, everyone out there, I have a great idea whose time has come. This is the moment where we can go along with the V for Victory campaign and start a Hemp for Victory campaign. Get Ron Paul, Woody Harrelson, Jesse Ventura, Willie Nelson, all the people that care about hemp. Ziggy Marley just talks about it recently. We got Mike Adams, Matt Monarch from the Raw Food.
Well, listen, we have them all on, Eric, and I appreciate your call calling for the decriminalization of drugs, especially marijuana, but trying to herd all those guys together is like herding cats, as they say. But I'm for drug decriminalization, not because I use them, but because the government's been caught keeping them illegal so they can make higher profits on the black market laundering the money. Let's talk to Ron in California. Ron, you're on the air.
Alex, how you doing?
Good.
It's good to talk to you, man. Very briefly, I wanted to talk about a caller back that you were discussing the difference between the Chinese people and the murderous totalitarian Chinese government.
Yes.
And that is key when it comes to the same guilt trip that is used against the United States.
Worldwide, Rupert Murdoch owns newspapers overseas bashing us. Then domestically, he's the big conservative owner telling us how we're blamed for everything worldwide. No, and we do accept some of the blame for letting it get that way. China's never had freedom. We had it and started giving it up, so we do need more blame than the Chinese people. The Chinese people, you know how many YouTube videos get put up and then pulled by YouTube working with the Chi-Coms, where it shows farmers and people who've had their kids taken and murdered and their land taken, hundreds of them rushing troops with guns, beating them, beating guys with machine guns, shooting them, and our media pulls that down. They don't want you to see that image of liberty. And so the Chinese are fighting without guns. I'll tell you right now, I blame the Chinese people less for their evil government than I blame ours. We had real liberty. We had the Second Amendment. We had the freedom. We had it all. We had the free speech, and they're trying to take it. We didn't have a private Federal Reserve. We had the greatest system ever. But hold on. I'm going to go to Breck, and I'm going to come back to you quickly, let you get a side comment on that. And then we're going to go to Warren, Bob, Sean, Nate, Ronnie, Laura, Red, Patrick. I'm going to at least jam in those 12 calls. I got a bunch of other news coming up on Google Censorship. I'm here to defend the Republic, the Bill of Rights and Constitution. If we don't have a rule of law that allows criminals in government and private corporations to run wild over us, the globalists worldwide lobby governments to get rid of common sense laws so they can feed on us. It's very elementary, and we're all in great danger. We're all in a lot of danger right now. And you can see the fruits of globalism. Our country falling apart, our liberties under attack, and our government has made conscious decisions to accelerate the tyranny. I'm going to get into some of that in the next segment. But right now, finishing up, Ron in California, you're on the air.
Yeah, man, you just nailed it. I've been speaking out against the situation with Clinton and the Chinese and how he sold us out for 10 years, all right? And people, they just aren't receptive to the information. Now I hope they're paying attention. Very quickly, though, the Chinese missile, right? Now, I live 10 miles south of LAX, all right? I don't live on the beach, but I can see the water from my house. And I happen to I saw that thing with my own eyeballs, right? But I didn't know.
The former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the former head of NASA, said it was a missile, and the Chinese did it on the day they were meeting with Obama, and it was admittedly a missile, and our government says it wasn't. This is incredible.
Man, I see atmospheric phenomena down here all the time. You got contrails, you got chemtrails, right? That was a distinctive vertical pattern into the sky from the ocean floor.
It was a Polaris knockoff launched from a submarine, and it was a message.
Yeah, it was a very clear message. And then you got to love that picture next day of Obama shaking hands with who, right? I mean, it was just classic, all right?
Well, who is just a complete monster. I appreciate your call. I mean, that's the guy that they just put Chinese troops back in North Korea. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, they are modern-day Stalins. They are modern-day bona fide evil. And their poor people are fighting back, and our government won't even challenge China to stop censoring the internet. In fact, our government's now pushing for it and working with Google, who works with China. And every time we buy Chinese goods, we slit our own throat. But so many yuppies think it's cute and laugh about it. Keep laughing, keep laughing. Warren in Canada, you're on the air.
Alex, my man, finally get a chance to say thank you.
Thank you.
Got a couple things. As I support your show, Jesse's show, man. I've downloaded all of his videos. I share them with everybody I can find. I've even had to move up north because I'm just scared of all the crazy crap that's going on.
Well, I told folks months ago they were covertly censoring certain episodes of Ventura's show, and now it's big news. Now it's admitted Homeland Security did not like the particular show that I consulted heavily on. I consulted on them all. And of course, I appeared in many of them, dealing with the FEMA camps. So that confirmed it. Homeland Security didn't deny that it wasn't real. They threatened Time Warner to pull it off air.
Alex, you got to watch your back, though, man, because you know the Northwest Passage comes right through Alaska and comes right out right in our front door. And, you know, if China really wants to get down to you guys in a hurry, that's going to be probably the easiest way to go.
China's got to deal with the globalists to take down America economically. That's why they made the deal in '79 to give them the Panama Canal that we built, that thousands of Americans died to build. The French failed to build it. And that's why the Republicans went along with it being handed over. China China isn't the threat. The traitor banks that run our country that want to destroy it so they can consolidate it for pennies on the dollar, that's the threat. Warren, anything else?
Well, I'm now way up in the north and deep in the heart of Indian country, and I got to tell you, I'm feeling safe and sound. And any of you guys down there feel you need to get out of Dodge, you're more than welcome to come on.
Well, I got some news on Canada. Canada is a beautiful, wonderful country and good people. But I've got video, Toronto Star's reporting on it. We reported on it last year when it happened with activists and posted the video of the police lying and saying there's no rights in Toronto during the G20. We have a new law. Turned out there was no law. It was all just a lie. Kind of like to take our baby's blood worldwide for a UN secret program for 39 years. They do what they want. But now they would march up to media and people and say, you can't have a backpack on the city streets. I'm going to search it. People would say, I have a right against that. The cops would manhandle them and go ahead and search their bag. And they told the media, you're not in Canada anymore. This isn't Canada anymore. And wherever the G20, the bankers go, and they got more of our debt than the Chinese. They shut down free speech. They grab press off the streets. They're setting those precedents. They're training us. They're seeing what they can get away with. Sean in Chicago. Sean, you're on the air.
Hey, Alex, big fan. You're a great broadcaster, and I'm the guy that called in about Bob Beckel and Cal Thomas about the lone gunman. It seemed to have did happen. I remember that.
Yeah, you called in about, what, 3 weeks ago before the Gifford shooting and talked about a USA Today article saying there's going to be terror attacks in America, there's going to be bombings and shootings, and we're going to have to give up our free speech. And then a week later it happened.
Lo and behold, it did happen. Okay, here's the next prediction. I live in Chicago. I live in the same building as somebody that does work in the White House, very high-end, very close to the president. Bill O'Reilly's going to interview...
By the way, you did call in a week before predicting the mass shooting, but sorry, go ahead.
Okay, Bill O'Reilly's going to interview Barack Obama before the Super Bowl. You've heard about that, right?
Yeah, what a joke.
Okay, here's what's going to happen. I have a very, very good friend that works for a media company. Obama's going to give O'Reilly his birth certificate, pictures, and the doctor's name. And that's already been going out to the media, already going out to the news. It is going to happen, and then Obama's going to say, okay, this is a racist. This is basically people who said I was not born in America, they're all racist. And it's a conspiracy theory. And Beck, yourself, Limbaugh, and all these other people, they're just saying that because I'm black. And that has come from, like, literally, honest to God, media company over.
Yeah, but you know, now that we're talking about that, they may not do it. But you did call in 3 weeks ago, a week before the Gifford shooting, and you did point out the USA Today article where they said there's going to be shootings and bombings, and we're going to get rid of free speech in America, and it's the right thing to do, and it did happen a week later. I remember the call. But right over here, remember how they're kind of almost like teasing it. The governor, Abercrombie, gets in and says, I'm going to show you the certificate. Then he says, oh, I couldn't find it last Tuesday. Now today, they say Hawaiian law bars release of Obama's birth info. So they are almost piquing the interest. Sean, you were told this by a media insider?
O'Reilly's going to hit Obama and say, why can't I see your birth certificate? Obama's going to say, well, I got it right here there, Bill. Here, look at it. Here's pictures. Here's the doctor's name. Here, that's how Obama's...
And you were told this by a media person? I'm surprised they can't keep their mouth shut. Sean, I'm going to put you on hold. I'm going to get your number. We're going to see if this happens coming up in a few weeks. Amazing info. He's already, knocked one out of the park with his earlier prediction. We'll see if it happens. Nate in California. Nate, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, how's it going, Alex?
Good.
Yeah, just talking about the China thing, it's kind of frustrating because, we got Obama bowing to him. We have the flags in Pennsylvania Avenue. We have them dressed in all red. I don't know if that was just kind of convenient or what.
And now playing a anti-American communist song about shooting American jackals, our troops in Korea. This was, and it's confirmed on Chinese TV hours before they said they were going to play that. It was all about humiliation.
Yeah, and then they teach them about anti-American in their schools, and then they teach us nothing in our class. You know, so they're just
no. They teach Americans to roll over to anything and everything.
Right. And I wanted to end on a positive note that I spent the last couple of days hanging up those signs. So Redding, California is taken care of.
Well, let me just say this. I'm going to talk about that in the final segment. We have a V for Victory campaign, and we need to get the media covering it. It just started 2 days ago. I'm already getting huge feedback on that. Very, very exciting. Great job. I'm going to jam in a few final calls from Laura and Patrick on the other side. Then I'm going to get into our V for Victory campaign. If you're a new listener and don't know what we're talking about, we just launched it 48 hours ago. I can't blame you. And then I'm going to talk about Google seeks to weaken search engine ranking of alternative media websites. That's going on. We're going to tell you how they're up to that new business. All right, final segment. We'll be back tomorrow live, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. If you don't have a local AM or FM in your area, though most of you do, you can simply listen at Infowars.com or XM. XM re-airs this at night. I'm told coming up in 2 weeks they're going to carry the full show live on XM and Sirius. Very exciting. The truth is coming out. The people recognize it. No matter how wild this information sounds, it's all verified. It's all documented. And I've got some incredible stuff to talk about tomorrow. I meant to get to it today, dealing with what happened when I went to the gym today. I saw a poster on the wall for a lady who's 30 years old, a Marine Corps staff sergeant dying of a rare cancer that women and men have never really had until now. I went home and searched it, and sure enough, it's associated with depleted uranium. 2 tours in Iraq, 2 tours in Afghanistan, 30 years old, dying, trying to raise money for her. Why not just not use the DU, and then you don't have to have all these people dying? And I've got all the government numbers. They know full well it's killing the troops. And then I went to a gas station. And got in a debate with the guy behind the counter who's joining the Navy. And I just said, look, it's great to be part of the military, but it's not great to take those experimental shots and breathe depleted uranium. And some guy behind him was laughing about it, but I turned around and I said, listen, this isn't funny. And I went over the evidence, and he wasn't laughing anymore. He was there buying a big case or whatever of beer. You know, he was going to go home and do what a real man does, watch the football game and laughing at some guy trying to talk to people at a counter. Everybody knows Americans don't talk to each other. Americans sit down and shut up. When the communist Chinese are playing anti-U.S., anti-military songs at the White House. Well, you can shut up if you want to, pal. I'm not shutting up. You got that? Never! My First Amendment was paid for with blood of our founding fathers and veterans. And you can spit all over it if you want, but I'm a real American. There's still some of them left. All right, I said I'd take calls, get to this final news. I think it's been a powerful and informative transmission today, but I will cover this as well on the 3-hour show tomorrow. Utah City may use blimp as anti-crime spy in the sky. Reuters told you about that a decade ago. 23-story rocket launches U.S. spy satellite. What they don't tell you is it's admittedly going to be used to spy on us. Germany's involved in spy satellites, spying on the U.S. With the U.S. government. They claimed it was for global warming. Lou Rockwell's got a big article out dealing with how the police all over the country are no longer getting warrants to search houses, you name it. Who needs search warrants is the headline. Seattle activist wins case against the TSA. He didn't have to show him his ID once he'd gone through, and he was videotaping him. Court rules he's allowed to do that. I meant to get to this, but we don't have time to play the video, but it's up on InfoWars and Prison Planet. We have links to it. The Toronto Star has it. It's a video of an activist, and we covered this at the time when it happened. The police just announced, we've passed a law, no protesting allowed, no videotaping allowed, no having backpacks allowed. And then after the G20 was over, it turned out there was no law. They just lied and said it. And again, I'm not in the business of bashing cops. I get along with the average cop better than a lot of folks. Deer hunting, you know, whatever. I'm not your enemy. The point is, you need to decide what team you're on. It's the same thing all over the world. They did the same thing in Pittsburgh. They arrested members of my crew, saying they weren't allowed to be on the streets of America. Took them to a military base. And it says in the video, a woman's voice from behind the camera points to the protesters who were within 5 meters of the cordon-off zone. the area in which Torontos were led to believe erroneously that they could be legally searched by police officers at whim. And they go on, the cop tells him, look, you're not in Canada anymore. Well, that's true. We're not in Kansas anymore. We're in the police state. Don't you understand that due process is their cop so a foreign bank doesn't just take your mortgage, as they've been caught trying to do? It's there so if somebody gives your kids bad drugs at the hospital, they go to jail. It's there so you got your free speech, dummy. It's all we got is these liberties and these freedoms. They were paid for with blood. They're special. And when you watch the video of these cops, they are getting off on grabbing this guy, intimidating him, getting in his face. And all he's doing is saying, look, I'm here with the media. You're not allowed to do this to me. You're not going to search my bags. I'm out here on the streets of Toronto. And the cop goes, you're not in Canada anymore. No, I know we're not. DHS and TSA offering parking, anti-terrorism training. I've seen these videos released by TSA. This is out of America City and Country report. And they're just training locals to spy on each other. You got a better chance being struck by lightning and hundreds of other things than being killed by terrorists, but they act like it's the end of the world. Domestic use of aerial drones by law enforcement likely to prompt privacy debate. It says the city of Austin is the first in the country to use these routinely against its citizens. How long till they weaponize the drones? Again, militarized police. A military kills people and breaks things. It fights an enemy. It isn't part of the community. And the city of Austin is completely Fed-run. There's this federal board that recommended Arte Saveda to the Dallas job. They hired the other cop they recommended. And, I mean, they got warrantless blood checkpoints here, and now that's been adopted nationwide. I mean, this country's going down, and I live right in the center of it, where they make you pay for other people's abortions in Austin. That's getting struck down in Obamacare, but I got to pay for it here. That's why I just moved out of Austin. I now live outside the city. But my business, my operation is here. I got to pay taxes to them to kill babies that way. I mean, and again, I'm evil because I don't want to pay to have babies at 8.5 months on the table murdered or put on shelves to die. That's now come out all over the news. I'm the bad man. I'm the bad man. D.C. expanding public surveillance camera network. Homeland Security, though, now admits they never built any of the virtual fence or the physical fence. It was all fake. It was all for PR. The borders are wide open, but they got Pentagon paid for spy drones and satellites watching me right here where I live. And Arte Saveda was in here about a year ago with one of his lieutenants. The guy was like, you wouldn't believe the surveillance we've got. And I went, you've got laser cup links that shoot up at windows that are invisible to the naked eye that listen to everything in my house? And the guy was like, well, yeah. And Arte Saveda goes, shut up. To the guy, don't you talk to him about any of that. And I said, don't worry, Arte Saveda, I know about the face scanning. I know about the license plate reading. I know about the laser microphones. Don't worry, I know about the blimps. I know about it all. I know about the CIA aircraft with narcotics. I know about DynCorp right down the street. I know about it all, okay? I know about it all. And I'm sick. But we're launching the V for Victory campaign with a simple message, putting up V for Victory flyers everywhere to get the media talking about it, to get solidarity as citizens together. For local media to ask, what's the V campaign about? It's V for Victory. The French used it during the Nazi occupation to say, we don't approve of this Vichy French collaborator government. We understand we've been taken over. Well, we've been taken over by foreign offshore banks through fraud. And the minute we arrest them like Bernie Madoff and Ken Lay is the minute this country turns back around. Their crimes are legion. The Federal Reserve, the private banking consortium, won't tell Congress where $28 trillion's gone. They've committed crimes. I'm risking my life to tell you this. Things are only going to get worse. We're going to be like a third world country unless we say no. And the Republican leadership isn't going to save you. The Democratic leadership isn't going to save you. The truth is going to save you running for local government, getting into the counties and cities and state, and blocking the feds through 10th Amendment nullification. It's our Bill of Rights. It's our Constitution. It's our right of passage. We are the people. We are the government. We are the sovereigns. And until you face up to just how bad it is, just how serious it is, just how hardcore all of this is, it's only going to get worse. And the social engineers know you're waking up. And I'll have to cover this more tomorrow, and I'm out of time for calls. I apologize. But this article at Infowars.com, get it out to everybody. Google seeks to weaken search engine ranking of content farming websites, and it just goes to say they're going to start blocking out alternative websites like Drudge and InfoWars because they know we're the most popular and rising. And this has been the Internet to UN Chinese model to censor, and this is happening now. Google has to be boycotted as well. And in closing, if you're angry, you want to show your solidarity, we need to show with symbols that we are against the tyranny that's taking place. And just like our Obama Joker poster made international attention, this V for victory. We are Legion. You are not alone. United we stand. V for victory. Infowars.com. And the short message at the bottom of this little, regular print paper size clipping. You hang it up at work, you put it on car windows, you hang it in legal places, wherever it's going on. You get it out, you email it, you put it on the end of your emails, you put it on the end of your articles. V for victory against globalism. V for victory against the New World Order. Recognize we're occupied. Recognize it's wrong. Reach out to others. Talk to folks at the grocery store, on the street. I do it. You can do it. We're in serious times, but together we can defeat this tyranny. Thank all the supporters and everybody you make it possible and the crew. See you back tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the sites, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.